Hey guys, welcome to another episode of A Cup of Positivity. This week on the podcast, I have the very sensual Elisa Caro, sex and relationship coach. Elisa tells us all about her experiences of Tantra, Tantric Practices, and sexual healing. She went from being a civil engineer to now teaching women how to have better orgasms, which she loves doing and is very passionate about. I've really loved talking to her and enjoyed hearing all of her advice about self-pleasure and how to awaken our sexual energies, and also how to embrace the power of the female orgasm. Elisa points out that sex is one of the areas in our lives that we tend to give up on as we get older, and we don't always make time to nurture our sexual well-being. So she is here to educate and empower us all to do so. I really hope you enjoy the episode, and please do share, like, and comment if so. Thanks for listening, and see you soon. Hi, Elisa. Welcome to A Cup of Positivity. How are you?
Hi, such a pleasure to be here. I'm feeling great. It's a sunny day in Melbourne and I'm feeling awesome.
Yeah, for me, it's evening time. So I'm doing a late night recording with you. Thank you for coming onto the February theme, which is sex and relationships. It's also season 2 now of A Cup of Positivity, which is great. So it's the first time we're doing like monthly themes, which I'm really excited about.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I guess the first place to start would be, do you want to introduce yourself? Just tell us who you are and what you do.
Yes. So I'm Elisa Caro, and I think I like to describe myself as like a passionate Italian wild dancer, and I'm working as a sex and relationship coach, like helping mainly women, but men and women, to really connect with their bodies, finding more pleasure in their intimacy, in their sex life, and finding more passion in their relationship. And in general, feeling more like empowered and at ease with themselves and who they are.
Amazing.
And yeah, I haven't been doing always this. Like I used to work in a corporate environment, much more like in my masculine, and a lot less contact with people. I used to work as a civil engineer, so it was really like using the other part of my brain.
Yeah.
but I was feeling a little bit disconnected, and I was feeling like empowered in a way, but I was really missing a piece. And so it has been beautiful for me to kind of like shift job and finding something that suits more my soul mission. Like I feel my soul came to this planet to give this gift, and it's much better than building bridges and, buildings, which is great for other people. But just like for me, I love to help women have better orgasms. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's much more exciting, I think.
Yeah. And so rewarding, receiving. Yeah, just even this morning, I received a message of thank you from a woman saying that it's really like changing her approach towards her body and her sexuality, reading my blog and seeing my videos on YouTube. So it's just, yes.
And before we delve into like what you do, what made you come to like Tantra and this kind of workshops that you do? Because I read that there was something to do with your health as well that inspired you.
Yes, there was. So there were a couple of things. So first of all, my parents introduced me to meditation and yoga and all these type of practices since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I did my first yoga retreat when I was 8.
Wow.
And so I was always embedded in this environment, and my parents were really into Tantra. So Tantra is a lot beyond sexuality. So they would lead Tantric practices, which are also type of mantras, type of yoga posture, type of breathings, when I was quite young. And I've always talked, but really, moreover, when I was a little bit older, talk about sexuality with a lot of openness.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something. But on the other hand, when I started to work as a civil engineer, somehow like my health started to go a little bit all over the place. And I had like trouble with my tonsillitis, which, it's not major, but I needed a surgery. And then I had cysts in my ovaries that were getting bigger and needed a surgery. So minor things, but at the same time, I needed surgeries, which I really didn't want to have. And it really felt like my body was screaming. And so I just decided to quit and go on a journey of self-exploration. And so my dad at the time was living in a tantric community. And so I just flew to him with a one-way ticket and started doing a lot of yoga and healing. And yeah, my health was fine. Didn't need surgery. And I was back on track. I was also feeling always tired and like something was not really right.
Okay. And just to go back to basics for anyone who might not know, what exactly is Tantra, or a tantric community as you described?
Yeah. So Tantra is a huge topic. It's a way of living. It's a philosophy of life. It's a way of seeing life. It's not a religion, but is really a way of seeing life. And it's kind of like a spiritual path, a path towards awakening. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of utilize every experience as a way to expand our consciousness, as a way of growing. And there is not a division between the sacred is here above heaven, and then there is the bodily function, sexuality, the earth is wrong. There's actually seeing the beauty and the depth of life, of sexuality, of the bodies. And there is not a split between what is sacred, what is spiritual, and the body. Mm-hmm. And so it also have analyzed sexuality and developed a lot of practice in which our sexuality help us to be stronger, more connected, more empowered, more in our bodies, feeling more confident. And therefore is well known in the West for their sexual practices, which are great. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I'm loving them. But just saying, just breaking the myth that Tantra is all about sex, it's so much more than sex. And I even have a blog on it, maybe even a YouTube video. Maybe you can add the link to it. If someone want to have a little bit of an understanding of what is really Tantra, then they can also have a read there. And so in a tantric community, there would be a lot of yoga posture, a lot of yoga classes, a lot of singing classes, what was a singing in a devotional way. There would be breath work classes and space, and then workshops. And then they will also teach about sexuality, but it would be, it's not if you think about 100% of the teaching, maybe 10 or 15% and around sexuality, or the rest is other things. So, it's really it gives a bit of a reference of, I thought Tantra was all about sex. And now I'm finding out, no. So it's really it's a small percentage.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because whenever I think of Tantra, I always associate it with tantric sex. So I don't really know anything outside of that, what that means.
Yeah. And so, there is a lot more. And it's a path towards expanding consciousness, towards feeling more connected with our true nature and ourselves. And as I said, there are a lot of practices involved. Which goes beyond sex and includes sex.
Yeah. So in terms of your day-to-day life, what kind of practices would you do on a daily basis that you would say is because of that tantric, I was going to say tantric education, but I suppose it's your upbringing, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit of upbringing. So look, it's a fairly my morning routine, before this meeting, I did meditation and I did yoga posture, which, there are a lot of different way of doing them. And so if there is an emphasis of also, there are the tantric tradition might have a little bit different approach, but, you can think about it as I meditate, I did yoga posture, I did some breath work, and here I am. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is also a way of going about life, about seeing every moment as sacred, about seeing every person as a soul, about seeing every experience a mirror, so that I can understand myself better. Mm-hmm. So that's as well as a tantric approach.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, considering our theme is sex and relationships, we're going to focus
Today we
on
talk about sex.
Exactly. But I'm going to add the link to your video anyway, because I find it interesting that it's like encompasses so much more than just the sexuality. But
Yes.
tell us about your video series that I've seen. It's called Unleash Female Orgasmic Power. What is that all about?
Yeah, in that video series, I'm talking about the potential of female sexuality, understanding that women have the birthright to feel pleasure and be orgasmic in their sex life, whether they're with someone or by themselves. And we have been taking away this birthright by the misinformation that we've been exposed to, and by the shame that has been put on our bodies and our sexuality. And therefore we approach them feeling already a little bit guilty, feeling already there is something wrong, or putting a lot of expectation on it.
Yeah.
It's a very one-dimensional way. And therefore, because there is so much pressure, we forget the wisdom that we would naturally have. But, because of all that conditioning, it becomes harder. And so many women think, oh, it's just not for me, or it just doesn't work for me. But it's just because they haven't learned. So yeah, you don't have sensitivity inside the vagina. Well, this is why you have lost it, most likely. And, and that a little bit about the history maybe they had. And then here's some exercise to become more sensitive, and here's what you can do. So if all of us would have this type of information, I think there would be a lot more satisfied women. And so in this video, I talk about that possibilities, and then I give some tips to start that journey. And then I talk about one of my favorite orgasm, which is the anal orgasm. And I'm just talking a little bit about it. And I think like we really need this open conversation around this topic, because there is a lot of dissatisfaction. Despite we think we're always more sexually open, women seem to be more and more dissatisfied in their sex life and keep faking if they're having orgasms, and often like losing libido after having kids, but just because they're not really exposed to practices that can keep their passion alive within as well. So it doesn't have to be that way, but that's what we've been exposed to, and so we think it's normal.
Yeah,
but it's not natural.
Yeah,
pleasure is natural, orgasm are natural.
What kind of advice would you give to someone who maybe has lost touch with their own sexual pleasure, or even with their partner?
Yeah, so if you have lost touch with the sexual pleasure, it's really good to kind of like having a commitment within to nurture that part of you. Is like we have a plant, and until it's living alone, we're like fine. But then when we see it's dying, we don't even think about watering it.
Yeah.
And that's how we treat our sex life. And so it's like, oh, if you feel horny, I made love. But then after a while, it's just not happening, whatever. And so like, if that's, you're feeling like you're losing touch with it, nurture it. And there are, so many ways, like self-pleasure. You can go to a workshop, read a book around it, start to buy new toys and explore your body. So really like giving attention and energy to it.
Yeah.
Because women's sexuality, imagine, is like water, the element. And when it's hot, you feel like that horny and that passion. And when it gets cold, you feel a bit like, indifferent about sex. So what happened is that when we, sometimes we need to heat it up again. And a lot of women like maybe try to self-pleasure and feel, oh, it's not as pleasurable as usual, whatever. They're frustrated, they drop it. But what you need to have in mind is like, okay, I'm going to start nurturing this. And in 6 months' time, this will be different, which will happen most likely earlier than that. But just saying that sometimes we put so much pressure, like it need to happen in these 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like when we, I don't know, want to open a new business, we plan it for like years, or you know what I mean? And then about sex, we're like, I better have the best orgasm now because I didn't have any for a month, instead of thinking, hey, maybe my sexuality needs more attention and I need to get in touch with my body. So nurture it so that you can warm your water. And then when the water is warm, naturally you will feel more sexy, more alive. So so sometimes like maybe women comes in whatever, like their 40s or after they had a kid and like it's gone. I'm like, it's not gone. We're going to call it back. We just need practice. Like they're not working. I'm like, hey, we're talking 6 months, okay? In 6 months time, then you tell me. But until there, I want you to nurture it. And then all the time, like it's just back.
Yeah.
So warm your water. That's my advice to women. And it seems like weird because men function a bit different. So if they didn't have sex for like a month and they didn't ejaculate, they're like busting for doing it. But on the other side, women are the opposite. Like if they haven't had sex, haven't had touch, a lot of time, like they're wanting it, but their body is not warm. So they might want it with their mind, but their body doesn't feel like ready. So warm the water, be patient, nurture it.
Yeah. In terms of self-pleasure as well, I think my personal experience with that is I only really do it if I need like to sleep better. Like it's kind of just like a tension release. But I'm seeing a lot of more, especially on like Instagram. I follow a lot of women who talk about like feminine sexual energy. I almost feel like there's this time allocated in your week or your month to exploring your body and it not just being a tension release, like let's just get it out the way and done. Do you make like time specifically for self-pleasure?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Like, so you made a great point. Great people you're following on Instagram. Great advice you've been reading. And I also have a couple of blogs on it. We can add the link to them on tips for self-pleasure. But so it's quite important to put aside sometimes or just have it without feeling pressure, and at least I usually take about an hour.
Wow.
And really like take it slow, because for instance, the female body do have erections, and until our erectile tissue is engorged, our sensitivity is lower. And so if I put a dildo, my finger inside, after 5 minutes I start touching myself, I'm not really gonna feel much. So I know that I need to warm myself up for about 20 minutes to half an hour in order to actually really be alive and ready. Does it make sense?
Yes.
And then I want to touch and play, and then I also want a little bit of like cooling down. Otherwise, it's like the image of the man rolling over and just going for a shower. So when you finish, you just even want to stay there with yourself. You don't want to just get up and run in to do things, but just holding yourself. And so I like to allocate more time so that I can explore my body and more fully, rather than taking from the body. It's like giving as well. Like, hey, I want to take from you. I want to release. I want to hit the pleasure. I want to hit the dopamine. I want to, so I'm like, I want to give you a massage. I want to treat you with the respect. Like, how do you treat your lover? How do you treat the person you love the most? With a quick tension release? No,
of course.
Deserve the same for our own body.
Yeah.
That would be my advice. And of course, there is so much we can talk about it, but
I love that you say that though, because for me, I feel like I'm very big on like foreplay. So things like kissing or touching or caressing, like all of those things I associate with having another person present, like, as you say, to warm up that water. So part of me is like, okay, so what do I do to replace that?
Yeah. So you want me to give some example of these?
Yes.
Yeah. So I usually like to even start dancing. So sometime I might take like a song to dance. And as I dance, I like move sensually and I like rest my body and I breathe and I make sound and I start to warm up like that. And then I will like slowly take off my clothes and just slowly like start to touching my whole body. And I love to touch inside my mouth. So instead of kissing, I will use my hands and just play with my gums and with my tongue. And it's so nice. I'm like, it's just so pleasurable, this
Yeah.
area. And sometimes I will use a dildo and I will like suck the dildo and just activate my mouth because it's important. As you said, like kissing is actually activate the yoni. So this chakra energetically, like the throat chakra and the second chakra are so connected. And so you really want to activate them both.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example, not saying that you have to, I'm just sharing what I like.
Yeah, of course.
And then I will start to play with my breast and massage my breast and give a lot of attention to it. And as you know, when I make love with someone, I will moan, I will make sound, I will breathe heavily, I will move my body. I'm doing the same things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing this, and in the meanwhile, like, some people might not be able to see us, but I'm just like moving and making sound and like touch my body everywhere as I would like to be touched. So I don't go directly to my clitoris, bam, bam, bam. Orgasm. That's just not satisfying. I can have an orgasm, but it's not as satisfied. It just doesn't make it for me.
Yeah.
And then I will like start to play with my clitoris and I will edge. So I will take myself almost to orgasm and then I stop and I breathe. And I do it again and I stop and I breathe. And I do it again and I stop and I breathe. I do it like 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And I will not come. And then I will start going on the inside and massage. And by then I'm wet. And by then I'm like starting to feel juicy. And by then I have sensitivity. And so I massage with either my finger or I like to use crystal wands.
Yeah.
Massage around and activate my G-spot, my cervix. And so, yeah, that's more or less like a little bit about it. And there's not a goal-oriented, I need to come, I need to have an orgasm. Most of the time that happen, but sometimes I might even feel emotional and I might like go on the inside and start crying.
Yeah.
And there are tears that were already inside me, but because I was disconnected, I was not feeling. And because in the self-pleasure, I connect deeply with myself, I feel them and I release them. And after crying, I feel better. It's not like the self-pleasure made me cry.
Yeah.
It's the other way around, allowed me to release something that was already in me and stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we let go of that attachment to any goal and we let unfold whatever is there, magic happen.
I was going to ask you about that as well, because whenever I think of Tantra, I always have this preconception of the goal is not always to come, but it's to have this like sexual energy transpiring through your body, constantly. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, beautiful. Okay. You're talking about it in a beautiful way. So in Tantra, we really want to allow erotic energy to move through the body. It's called sublimation or transmutation of energy. And so you allow sexual energy to move. And as it moves, it can bring us to ecstasy. Like more than a release, you feel on a aroused and ecstatic space in which the time disappears. And I'm sure that most of our listeners will have experienced that at least at times. Because anytime I share that with women, they often tell me, it happens once. All of these were the condition. I thought it was the only condition. I'm like, no, with Tantra, you can learn how to make that condition, most of the times. But it's like allowing that energy to flow through us from the genitals, moving through the body. And it's really this, there is a shift of consciousness. And it's also documented when we start to get aroused, there is a shift of our, the arousal state.
Yeah.
Is, like the awaken, the sleep state, the arousal, they're like all different state of our mind. And, pain threshold goes down. We have more sensitivity in our bodies. There is this sense of like our neurocortex like gets switched off. So the judgments are like kind of more quiet. We're naturally more in the present moment. So there are all sorts of things that I'm describing in more mystical ways, but there's also like the science backing up on what, does mysticism feel. So we get hit with oxytocin and dopamine. And as I said, self-judgment, turn off. The emotional brain get turned on. So we feel more connected with ourselves. So it's like all sorts of things that are happening to enhance and support that. And with this tantric approach, they got enhanced even more. And so we fall into this ecstasy when we allow this energy to move through us. And there are techniques, breath work. There is other things as well, like contraction of certain parts of the body, or some movements, some yoga posture to sublime energy, some meditation, some visualization. So there are a lot of practices that can be done. Yeah.
And let's talk about as well, because we spoke about it before the podcast, is female empowerment. So when you embrace this kind of sexual energy, it can also affect other parts of your life. And you've had like testimonials of women that have worked with you and have had other things happening around them because of the stuff that they've been doing with you. So can you just like talk us through some of that?
Yes. So sexual empowerment is part of our well-being. We see exercise as part of it. We see like our mental health, our physical health, our sexual health and satisfaction is part of our well-being. And the effect of that ripples out in other areas. Like if we feel more energetic, if we feel like in a better mental space, of course, we know that has ripple effect outside, right? But we don't think about it with sexual topics. We think that they stay in the bedroom, but that's not the case. So when you feel more empowered in your sex life, often women feel more confident. When they're more confident, they're more self-assured. They speak their boundaries, their needs with more like feeling they are on their own corner, like they're really doing what's beneficial for them. They drop action that were self-sabotaging or self-hatred based just because they've learned. And there is this tendency of just feeling more like just owning their desire, their space on this earth. And that ripples out as like, I have my clients say that they ask for a pay raise. I like they were just saying they just took time off from work, and before they would have like feeling guilty about it, but like, oh my God, I am important. My mental health is important. I'm going to take this. They spoke their needs with their partners. They stopped putting up with bullshit with them sometimes. Like, hey, this is like, what's up? That's not okay what you're doing. And in the past, they would have feel too afraid of speaking them. They also feel more beautiful. They told me that they like putting makeup on or just feeling more radiant the way they carry themselves, and they're more flirtatious. And then they notice that they attract more like the attention of potential partners and people, and they're just feeling more like happy, and people tend to magnetize around them more and want to be around them more. So and they also find a new self-love. And so all of this thing, I see them happening all the time. Like my clients really come to me for having better orgasm, and they leave feeling more empowered with a new self-love, feeling, they left the job if they've been thinking about it for ages, but didn't have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
Or they just like feel stronger in themselves.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing to witness. And I'm so sad that that's not well spread. Like people that are listening to this podcast are people already in personal development and already open-minded, but most people are not exposed to this,
Yeah.
They watch news, they watch like the normal things on TV, and just, they're not exposed to a more conscious education around sex and much more.
Yeah. So more orgasms for us women is the prescription of this episode.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know how I didn't mention creativity. Oh my goodness. Like if I need to create a new workshop or have ideas for my business or whatever, I usually like either have a self-pleasure or make love with my partner in that way of like making energy flow, because there are other ways of making love that don't feel as like shaking earth. But this way of like making love in a more sacred and conscious way. Moreover, also the other one, but like it's just enhanced even more. It really helps us to be more creative. And a lot of artists have told me that.
Really?
Yes, like how they really notice when they have a new lover and they make love a lot, and or they're like yeah, it's just a thing. A lot of people who are into creativity, other people might not notice that as much. But if someone is like love to write songs, even just in their hobbies, and then they come to see me, I'm telling them, your creativity and songwriting in 6 months is going to go to the roof. And this is always happening because it's just a thing. It's just a thing. Creativity boosts. And if someone doesn't have an outlet for it, they might not notice it. But when they do, they really notice it. And sometimes it just starts. So sometimes women that come to see me, they just go to dance. And they're like telling me, oh, I started to do some singing. Oh, I started to do some drawing. I never did that. So it might like start a new passion or really enhance if there is already one. Yeah, so it's amazing. It's like they've forgotten it. Yeah, so good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the situation is at the moment. You're in Australia, right?
Yes.
But here in the UK, we're in lockdown again for the third time now. What advice, this is a 2-part question. So what advice would you give for people in relationships who maybe are struggling with like keeping the passion alive at the moment, especially because we can't really like go to restaurants or do anything, can't go dancing or anything that maybe you would have done on like a date night? How do you keep the passion alive right now?
Great question. So you can do it. And of course, I want to acknowledge that it's harder. So before giving those advice, I also want to say that for passion, it's really important to have also space. And that space is not allowed in lockdown. However, have said that, in Melbourne, we have faced 8 months of continuous lockdown. Just Melbourne, actually, not all Australia, just Melbourne. And, you know, my sex life was great. And it needed to be great. Like it was great through some nurturing. It was really important to nurture. While before, maybe it was a bit more natural. So the advice that I would give to nurture that is, you know, you mentioned like, going out at a restaurant, you mentioned dancing. We would do this thing at home. So one person would like organize the date night and would prepare like a special meal, while the other one would do maybe, you know, something else, and then arrive, and then everything was set. And there were like the whole house set in a very nice and sensual. We would think about like playlist and that. And we would dance in the house. So like we would maybe do some dancing and then the dinner, and would take like alternative week. One person was organizing it and the other one was like receiving the date night. And put an effort to make it more special. So dress up. I would put makeup. I would dress up. I would tidy up the house. I would, you know, like light candles, prepare the music, and really trying different things. So one time we play with the ropes, not more than once, but we play with like ropes with shibari, and other times we would have danced. Other times we would have, you know, tried something new, cooking. And you can also like, sometimes we have done role plays. So I like knock at the door and I was like someone that my partner didn't know. And I left like his notes about what would happen. So I said like, I'm going out. It's like, where are you going? Then I'll leave the notes and I'm like, who is coming back is not Elisa, it's Sophia. But I would like write the story about it. And then, you know, so we would have like done things like that. So bring novelty inside your home, because that's the only way. Another time we would say, okay, now we play, but we're not allowed to have penetrative sex. So what can we do in the next hour without? And then we would become very creative. And so, all of this type of things can really support bringing that passion back.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say, like, sometimes it's good to get support. Like we get classes and lessons on everything but sex.
Yeah.
And it just improves so much when we do get support.
Yeah.
Like I'm learning ukulele, I'm getting coaching for it. I'm expanding my business and moving more things online. I paid an agency to just deal with all of that. Like we do that as for a lot of things, but then when it comes to sex, we're like, oh, it's just not working. I know, like, whatever, like you're in the UK, so maybe your audience, but whatever, I'm sure there are a lot of like coaches and practitioner there, or they can reach out to me like online. So
Yeah.
Like it's so much easier when you get support. It's just going to make a difference.
Agreed. Yeah.
So if you feel stuck, like do all the things I suggested. And if you feel stuck, get support. Don't feel ashamed about it, because you have been trained to shame your own sexuality. You have been trained to dismiss your own internal knowing and intuition. And so do things. And if you feel stuck, reach out, because there is another ending to the story, to the narrative that you might have told yourself.
Yeah.
Just want to say that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the second part to my question was, what advice would you give to single people during lockdown now, who might be feeling a bit lonely or might miss that intimacy that they have with other people that they can't get right now?
Yeah. Same as for the other one, I want to say that it's tough. And, whatever advice I will give is not going to make it less tough. It's tough. It's tough. Like there is a longing for body-to-body connection, which we can do things, but is in a way that is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Have said that, there are things that you can do with yourself that can really support that need, that cannot fulfill it at its fullest, but can do a great top up. And I think that we really need to become master and our best lover in this situation. And the advice I was giving earlier on like, how do we do self-pleasure? Those are, great advice. Like, don't make love with yourself in a way that is like a really unskilled lover, because that's what you're doing to yourself, right? You're like, done. Would you like your lover to come and rub your clit until you come and then say, see ya?
No.
So in the same way, whether you're a male body or female body, like really make that effort, make that time, cook a special dinner for yourself, feel like you're taking yourself on a date night. My partner for a while was not up for date nights. He was going through his own thing. I would still, our date night, take myself on a date night. That dude was not up for sex, was not up, it was going his own thing. And I was just, I was dancing, I was dressing up, I was cooking nice dinner. I was giving a massage. I bought like a massage thing called Terragan.
Oh yeah,
I
have one. Yeah.
Massage.
Yeah, amazing.
And I was just doing my thing. I was taking myself on a date.
Yeah.
And so same, like explore new things, join, there are like, there are a lot of even online courses on like sexual empowerment, JDAG, like a lot of things, like, jump on, do one and follow up, feel the tribe online.
Yeah.
And really give yourself that care that you are craving. That would be my advice. And that doesn't take away the longing for a human connection. And that's okay that you're feeling that. But if instead of giving ourselves something, we just say, oh, poor me, I can't do this, we're just going to go down a hole. And so acknowledging that there is a desire, which is, very valid. Instead of going in a victim mode, we should get in a more empowered way. And so, oh, okay, what can I give myself, which doesn't take away that longing, but at least I'm going to top up my cup, as much as I can,
Yeah.
knowing that I cannot maybe do it fully.
Mm-hmm. And then how do you work with clients? Like, what kind of stuff do you have that people can sign up for? And how can people contact you after listening to this podcast?
Thanks. Great question. So I'm working with clients online and in person if you're listening, you're in Melbourne. And what I do is that I'm really supporting, like they're very tailored on their needs, on their sexual history, and I'm supporting them step by step with like little practices, weekly practices to get in touch with their bodies and really awaken their sexuality at the fullest of their potential. And I'm also I'm developing right now online courses that I've been running till now in one-on-one or like group settings. So I have a lot of workshops in Melbourne and retreats. But if you are, because you're based in the UK, and so I'm like moving those things online in the next 6 months, which is great news. It's a little bit scary moving so much online because when I'm so busy in person, like I now have people working for me because I can't see as many clients. And so I'm like, okay, it's the time to scale, it's really the time to, because I don't have time. Workshop are filling up and stuff like that. So I'm moving online, and I'm actually going to release soon the Sexual Liberated Woman, which is a course for women to feel more liberated and in their bodies, and learning a lot of tools that they can use to fall more in love with themselves, to awaken more sensitivity. And it's like a beautiful journey of a month. And after the month, they're going to feel so much more in tune with themselves and orgasmic and more in love with their bodies and understanding their bodies more.
Yeah.
And they can go back to the exercises because they're like, we need to keep our water warm. And so there are a lot of exercise to keep their water warm.
Okay.
They can go back, and that I do, it's just like, it's like a meditation routine or whatever, like things that you can always go back to. And I already ran that few times, like online with like on Zoom, and I'm soon going to record it. So they can also follow maybe me on Instagram and be updated on that, because it's going to happen soon. Super soon.
That's amazing. Well, I'll put all the links and everything in the caption anyway, so people can contact you and find out what you have. And then can you finish off with any words of wisdom? So if our listeners were to take away one golden nugget from this podcast episode, what would you like it to be?
It would be that sexuality is part of their well-being and is their birthright to be satisfied in their sex life. And it's not true that they're sexually broken if they've been thinking about it, and they can feel more satisfied and happy and fulfilled. And if they nurture it, they can get there.
Amazing.
Because a lot of people feel like it's not possible, but it's just like learning, a new skill, something new. And so it's not impossible at all. It's not like you just have clitoral orgasm and I can't have the other one, or I have premature ejaculation and I can't. No, you can fix that. Like it's just, you have to learn how. And so nurture that side of you, because it's going to have a huge impact in your life.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so nice talking to you.
My pleasure. It was so nice being.
And like I said, I'll put everything in the caption, so hopefully you'll get some people contacting you. And I'm going to have to look at some stuff now, because I don't think I'm making enough time for my self-pleasure. So thank you so much, Elisa.
It was such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications on new episodes every Wednesday.